Whether or not you like Five Nights at Freddy's, you can't deny that it truly blew up the internet. And I don't think that's weird or anything. Not only is the gameplay surprisingly addicting, but the story is what really tops the cake, being so full of secrets and mysteries. We've gotten 4 games in the franchise, and it seems like it doesn't stop here. But out of these 4 main games, I've made a little list where I rank the games after my personal opinion. It's simply a list of how I personally experience them and how I rank them. Keep that in mind. Now let's dig into the good, the bad and the ugly of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, in my eyes. So the game I like the least out of the 4 is Five Nights at Freddy's 3. It overall feels like the most lacking and least scary one out of the 4, but let me go into detail. This is probably the game I was most excited for in the whole series. I really got into Five Nights at Freddy's around the release of the second game, and I learned what it was about, got interested in the characters and learned about the huge story and speculation around it. Obviously I was excited for the next game when it was announced. I do like the atmosphere of this game. There is something about the past that's really fascinating to me, like you're standing in a field where a great war once took place many years ago and now everything is quiet and only a few remains are left. That's kind of how I feel about this game. It's like all of those craziest things are over. And now it's just a legend, but it's somehow still alive? You know what I mean? In Five Nights at Freddy's 3 there is only one real enemy, being Springtrap. That's both a good thing and a bad thing to me. It's frightening to think that there's you and only one other being inside the building hunting you down. But at the same time it becomes more lacking. The cameras are very static in this game, making Springtrap a lot harder to see, and I think that's a good thing. But it's the mechanics around the camera that I couldn't quite handle. I never fully understood how the sounds attracted Springtrap to another room, since sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Then the camera went out and you had to go and reboot it, and then the ventilation went out and you had to go and reboot it, and so on and so on. And while rebooting stuff, you couldn't do anything, you could only sit there and wait. I was never a huge fan of this mechanic myself. You do have these phantom animatronics around that jump scares you, but since they aren't real and only screwed up with the ventilation, they never felt like a threat. And speaking of jump scares, I'm not a fan of them most of the time. If they're done well, and they actually are scary, and they actually are dangerous, to the player in the game, I think they can work well. But most of the time they're just surprising and cheap in my eyes. Thing is, in this game, it's really none of them. Springtrap's jump scare never really scared me at all or made me jump whatsoever. So that's one real threat in the building didn't really feel that much of a threat. This is what I mean with this game being the least scary in the series to me. Now, as for the Easter egg in this game, since it has an Easter egg, I think it's really cool and very special to me. It's again the feeling of something happened long ago, but now it's long over and only a memory. The minigames you play, and with the music playing in the background, somehow gives me huge vibes of nostalgia. They're both sad and mysterious at the same time. I remember listening to the music in these minigames while making Five Nights at Wario's 3 to get inspiration and to get in the mood for mysterious storytelling. So I think this game is good, but definitely not as good as the other 3. Coming in at number 3 spot, it's a game that I feel suffered the same fate as many movie sequels do. It's Five Nights at Freddy's 2. This game did lots of things right, and some things wrong, in my opinion. It kind of feels like a less scary version of the first game, honestly. It's more chaotic. You see, with some movies, when they make a successful movie, they decide to make a sequel and think that it will be just as good, since they keep the same concept as the first movie did. Now, I'm not saying that this game did the same thing at all, but I'm saying that this game feels like the first game, only with less of the scariness factor and more of a strategy factor. The atmosphere is good, I feel, both with the office, the cameras, the colors, the lighting, the sound effects. But one of the things I don't like about this game is that there are simply too many animatronics. We have the original 4, we have the new 4 toy animatronics, Golden Freddy, the puppets, Balloon Boy, and maybe more that I can't remember right away. That's 11 animatronics to keep track of. This makes each animatronic less unique and less interesting, and in the later nights, because there are so many of them, you simply can't keep track of all of them on the camera. Not because you don't have to, but because you simply don't have time. You can only pull up the camera, wind up the music box for the puppets, go back, check the vents, check the hallway, and repeat. The other cameras become useless, honestly, and in the end it felt more like a strategy game than a horror game in the end to me. But it did do lots of things right. I liked the puppet, I liked Balloon Boy, I liked the atmosphere, I liked the hallway mechanic. But it simply became too chaotic in the end for me, to the point where much of the horror aspect was gone. Without a doubt, the most different game in the series, at my second favorite FNAF game, comes Five Nights at Freddy's 4. And with that, you can already work out which one is at number 1. Now, FNAF 4, to me, is not just a good FNAF game, but a good horror game in general. There are several reasons for this, but one main reason in particular is that I want to talk about is the atmosphere. Scott Cawthon, the creator of this game, obviously nailed the atmosphere of this game to me. All of us here have had nightmares sometimes in our lives, and we all know they're not fun. They are surreal and real at the same time. You're in a setting where you don't know really what's going on. You're in a setting where something is wrong, things are off, you feel alone, trapped, like you're in a very uncanny place. You might have a nightmare of you being alone in your own house where something is just off. Like a new hallway suddenly being there, or that a door is usually not there but suddenly it has appeared there. Or that you know something terrifying is lurking downstairs. Nightmares gives a natural feeling of something you can't really explain, a feeling of something being different. This is exactly how it is with FNAF 4 to me. The kid we play as in this game is someone we can relate to. He's in his bedroom, but something's wrong, something's different. Doors are certainly on both sides of his room. He's home alone. A closet right in front of his bed. It's dark. It's a nightmare we've all had before. Monsters in our own home, we've all had that dream before, I'm sure, or at least something similar. Walking up to the door and opening it only to see a dark hallway outside is honestly terrifying. The ambience music playing in the background is super suspenseful to me, like something's going to jump out any second, with occasional sounds of clocks and bells ringing in the background. The jump scares in this game, while I said that I don't like them, these ones are terrifying to me, and the mechanic of listening to breathing sounds outside of the door is genius in my eyes. Remember what you're actually doing. You're holding up the door as a little kid. It's pitch black outside, and if you hear breathing, you know that something is standing right in front of you. The thought of that is just frightening. Making a Five Nights at Freddy's game without cameras was a risk to take, but I think it made for the perfect feeling for a fourth nightmarish Five Nights at Freddy's game. You know which one this is, obviously. It's the first Five Nights at Freddy's. And no, it's not just because it is the first one, so it makes sense to put it there or something. But the fact that this is where it all began, the original game, the one that started it all, adds a lot of creepiness to the game for sure. But this game has everything good that the other games have. There are not too many characters and not too little, making each character unique and making each character important. Along with this, the cameras become more useful, and the location has a perfect size when it comes to the cameras and such. The atmosphere is outstanding, with that constant fan noise and the ambience in the background along with other sound effects that play. It truly has this feeling of, wait, you weren't there a second ago. What I mean is that each movement of the characters feel real and important. The place feels just claustrophobic as a whole, with your office being very small and the doors being very close to you, as well as these four characters coming for you one by one, with Freddy working differently than Chica and Bunny do. Just the sound effects of the light switches are terrifying to me, and seeing the characters standing outside of the door is one of the more nightmarish experiences from this game. But definitely my favorite part of Five Nights at Freddy's, the moment that literally made me shit bricks, was when Foxy first ran towards the office. The reason for that was because it is such a huge contrast to what we had seen previously. Usually, or always literally, we watch the cameras only to see someone have slightly moved closer to you or slightly changed position. When you see Foxy in full motion sprinting down the hallway at full speed straight towards your office, and you hear the footsteps getting louder and louder, it was so unexpected, so unnatural in this emotionless game. There are few moments in games that have scared me as much as that moment with Foxy. This is also where we got so many important story elements, showing us that this wasn't just a random horror game with animatronics hunting you down for no reason. And that, my friends, is my ranking for the Five Nights at Freddy's games, and I'd love to hear your take on the FNAF games, what you think of them, and how you would rank them. If you like this video, it would be greatly appreciated if you could drop a like, and if you want to see more videos from me, you can check out my channel to see if you like it, and if you do, make sure to drop a little subscribe. We've just passed 60,000 subscribers. That's amazing. Just hugely amazing. So thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.
I'm a Wario. I'm gonna win.